For the record, I have received Exhibits 1, 3, and 5. With that, the state may call its next witness.
Thank you. The state calls Erica Patterson.
Good morning, Ms. Patterson. If you would please make your way to the witness stand, which is up a riser and to my right. When you get there, please raise your right hand. My clerk, Teresa, who's standing over here, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Have a seat. First thing I will have you do is to state your first and last names for the record and then spell each.
Okay. Erica Patterson, Erika Patterson.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Patterson. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. Sorry.
All right. Can you tell us, do you know a man by the name of Darrell Brooks?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd ask that the court have Mr. Brooks temporarily remove his mask.
Mr. Brooks, you're advised to remove your mask, please.
People with disabilities are all around you.
Thank you.
Ms. Patterson, do you see Darrell Brooks in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell us where he's sitting and what he's wearing?
On the left side, and he's wearing an orange shirt and a mask.
I'd ask the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
The record will reflect that this witness has identified the defendant.
Can you tell us how long you've known Darrell Brooks?
Since I was 15,
How old are you now?
32 today.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
What's the nature of your relationship with Mr. Brooks?
We have a 15-year-old daughter together.
Okay. In what state did you meet Mr. Brooks?
Reno, Nevada.
And when did you come to Wisconsin?
Last year, 2021, June 13th.
Why did you come to Wisconsin?
We were coming out here. I was going to be out here for 2 weeks and go back, but I never went back.
Who did you come to Wisconsin with?
Darrell Brooks.
Where did you live when you got to Wisconsin?
Atlanta, Georgia. Or we lived with his mother, sorry.
Mr. Brooks' mother?
Mm-hmm.
In what city was that?
Hold on, was that a yes?
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's what my job is, to make sure the record is correct.
Yes, ma'am. Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay. At some point, did you stop living in Milwaukee and start living in Waukesha?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember approximately when that timeline was?
November 2nd, 2021.
Okay. Where were you staying in Waukesha?
The women's shelter in Waukesha.
That's downtown?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know a person by the name of Corey Ruckle?
Yes.
Where did you meet Corey Ruckle?
The women's shelter.
Were you roommates?
Yes.
I want to direct your attention to the date of November 21st, 2021.
Yes.
Did you know anything about a parade happening in Waukesha that day when you woke up that morning?
I didn't know about the parade.
Okay, what about that afternoon? Did it become apparent to you that something
Yes.
was going on?
Yes.
Did you come into contact with Darrell Brooks on the afternoon of November 21st, 2021?
Yes.
Where did you first come into contact with Mr. Brooks?
At Frame Park.
And how did that come about? What were you doing and why did he get there?
We were messaging and calling each other all day. We were arguing back and forth. He came out there. Well, I told him I was with Miss Corey, and he came out there. I told him where I was. Got in his car. We drove around, and then I forgot the street. We went up that street. It's a hill. It's kind of by the Walgreens. We went up that hill. We drove around. Me and him got into an altercation. He hit me in my eye. I jumped out of the car, walked, and found my way back by Frame Park. And then he followed me there. And then I went back in his car. I got out, and I had called Corey. Well, I called Corey before that. And she came to meet me. I told her that me and him got into an altercation. So she met up with me, and by the time she got there, she pulled me out the way because his car turned around. He swerved. She pulled me out of the way. He got up his car, and they got into an altercation. He pushed her in her face, and I don't remember if she hit him back or anything. That we walked away and walked back to the women's shelter.
Okay. let's go back and go through some of the details of that, all right?
Yes.
You said that you told Mr. Brooks that you were hanging out with Miss Corey.
Yes.
Were you hanging out with Corey Runkle earlier that day?
Yes, her and her friend Nick.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you remember where you were with those two?
It was at the Frame Park because we had split up when I met up with Darrell.
Okay. Do you remember what you were doing in Frame Park with Corey?
We were just hanging out.
Okay. Any alcohol involved?
Yeah, a little bit.
Do you
They had
remember?
like a Mike's Hard, the little Mike's Hard beer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you say that you were intoxicated after consuming one Mike's Hard beer?
No, I was not.
Okay. And at what point did you split up with Corey?
When Darrell was on his way, Corey and Nick had left, so I sat there and waited for him. We were still arguing on the phone, but I waited for him.
And you were in Frame Park?
Yes.
Okay. How did Darrell arrive? That is, he didn't walk to Waukesha.
He drove
Okay.
in his mother's car. It was the red, was it a Ford, I believe? I'm not sure what kind of car, but it was the red.
Had you seen him driving that car on previous occasions?
Yes.
Had you ever been in that vehicle before?
Yes.
When you were staying with Mr. Brooks' mother, were you staying in the house?
No.
Where were you staying?
We were outside. Sometimes we'd sleep in that car because his mom, he was not allowed to, be in the house. So, yes.
And you slept in that car with Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
That was before November of 2021?
Yes.
Okay. Describe for us what happened when Mr. Brooks first arrived in Frame Park, when you first saw him that day.
We were still arguing, pretty much. He was already in a bad mood when he met up with me anyways.
This is an argument that face-to-face, using words, not messaging,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
This is your time to cash in at Cache Creek Casino Resort. To rock and to roll. Over the hills and bluffs. Go all out or go all.
Did you get in the vehicle?
Yes.
Okay, and what happened next?
We drove around and were arguing, and that's when we got into the altercation in the car, and that's when I jumped out. We were up the hill.
Do you remember exactly the route that the two of you took while you were driving around?
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled. She may answer.
Yes, I do. I'm not sure the exact street names. Like I said, I'm not from Waukesha, but I do know the route.
After, the next day you met with Detective Steve Guth, is that right?
Yes, it was the same day.
Okay. And you got in the squad car with Detective Guth
Oh, that was the next day, yes. Sorry.
and showed him the route that you took with Mr. Brooks?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right. You described going up a hill, right?
Yes.
Did you cross the river before you did that?
No.
Okay. What happened once you got up at the top of the hill?
He drove up farther more, and then that's when I jumped. It was on the up the hill. It was farther more, and then that's when he hit me, and I jumped out of his car. Well, his mother's car.
Where were you sitting when he hit you?
The passenger side front seat.
Where was he sitting?
Driver's side.
What did he use to hit you?
His hand.
Was it an open hand, a closed fist?
Yes. What was it? Like this, sorry, like his open hand.
Okay.
But it was hard. Because
So the record should reflect that the witness raised her right hand and
yes.
kind of waved it almost like a back slap?
No, harder than that.
Okay. What did you do after Mr. Brooks struck you?
I cried, and then I just jumped out of the car. And then going towards down the hill, that's when he was following me.
Describe how you were going down the hill.
Walking down the hill.
And how was he going down the hill?
Driving.
The red Ford Escape?
Yes.
Okay. What happened next?
He just followed me all the way to the park.
Okay.
He tried to take my phone from me at the light going down the hill, and he just kept following me and arguing with me out the window.
Do you recall being near a gas station while this argument was happening?
Yes.
Objection, irrelevant.
Yes.
Hold on. Overruled. She may answer, and the answer she provided may stand.
Yes. It was right at the light. The gas station on the that's a gas station on the left, and then Walgreens is towards the right.
And do you remember what was being said at the gas station?
I do not remember.
What happened when you got past the gas station?
I kept walking, and he was still following me.
Did you at any point attempt to contact anybody for help?
No, just Corey, but towards the frame park. That's when I called her, when I got closer to there.
Did she answer?
Yes.
What did you say?
I said, he just hit me, and I said, I need you to meet me. And that's when she met me.
Where did you go?
I walked past Frame Park, and I went, I met Corey, and I got into his car and then got back out, and I met Corey at White Rock School, I believe it is.
When you say his car, you're talking about who?
Darrell Brooks.
And were you familiar with White Rock School at the time? Did you ever
No.
been there before?
No.
You just know that from
That's
talking about this afterwards?
Yes.
What happened when you got to White Rock School?
That's when because I had got there, got back in his car, talked to him, got back out. Corey had met. She snatched me out of the way because he swerved his car when he made a U-turn, and then that's when he got out of the car and they were arguing and he hit her in her face, and then I think she pushed him back. I don't recall, and then I was trying to split them up at the time. After that, we just kept walking and went to the women's shelter.
Who's we?
Me and Miss Corey.
Madam Clerk, could we please have the state's rear table projected for the witness? Hey, Ms. Patterson, I've projected on the screen in front of you a video marked as State's Exhibit number 4. Do you see the screen?
Yes.
Have you seen this video before?
Yes.
What does it depict, or what's in this video? What are we going to see here?
You're going to see me walking, and you're going to see him turning the car back around and Corey meeting up with me in the altercation they had.
Does this video accurately show what happened in front of the White Rock School on November 21st of 2021?
Yes.
I move Exhibit 4 into evidence and request permission to publish.
Any objections?
Yes, we haven't even played the video. How do we know what's even in the video at this point? Can we see the video before it is admitted into evidence?
Your objection is noted. The foundation has been laid. Exhibit 4 is received. And permission to publish is granted.
Can we also shut off the I think it's the Polycom system that's taking up
we
the
certainly
screen?
can. Yep. There you go.
All right, we're going to play from a timestamp of 51 seconds in this exhibit.
Lease a new 2023 Nero Hybrid LX for $309 a month.
Actually, can we pause quick? Paused at 1:04, and just to clarify, Ms. Patterson, we're going to watch portions of the video. We're not going to talk while it's playing, and then when it's paused, I'll ask you questions, okay?
Okay.
All right, let's resume at 1:04. Let's pause. We've paused at 1 minute and 37 seconds. Ms. Patterson, who did we see in the video there walking?
Me.
Okay. And we saw a red SUV, right?
Yes.
Who was driving that SUV?
Darrell Brooks.
Was there anybody else in the vehicle at that point, to your knowledge?
Nope.
Okay. Let's resume playing. pause there. At 4 minutes and 17 seconds. The two people who just entered the screen from the right, do you know who they are?
Corey and Nick.
Do you know which is which?
Corey's on the left, Nick's on the right.
Let's resume playing. Let's pause there. At 6 minutes and 3 seconds. Ms. Patterson, we watched the video, but you were there. Can you tell us what was happening during that portion of the video we just watched?
Corey and Mr. Brooks were arguing, and that's when he pushed her in her face, and I don't recall what she did back, and then that's when he drove off. One of them, I think it was Nick, called the police, and that's when he drove off.
Do you remember what Nick said when he called the police?
I believe Nick said he had a knife, if I recall, but he didn't have one, but that's what Nick said on the phone.
When you say he, who are you talking about?
Darrell Brooks.
Okay. And you didn't see Mr. Brooks with a knife that day?
No.
What about Nick? Did you see him with a knife?
No.
Did you have a knife?
No.
Corey?
No.
Why do you think Nick said to the police that there was a knife?
Probably to make them come faster.
Who got into the driver's seat at the end of that video?
Darrell Brooks.
And again, anybody in the vehicle at that point?
No.
Other than him?
No.
Let's resume playing from 6:03.
At Subaru, we share your love of the outdoors. The cold rush of gliding down the mountain. The free.
And we can stop it there at 6 minutes and 54 seconds. What did we see in that clip, Ms. Patterson?
I walked away from Corey and Nick because I was mad because me and her started arguing after that because she was mad that I even met up with Mr. Brooks.
Okay.
And then she was running after me.
Do you know the direction that you were walking there?
Straight. And then...
That's fair. Walk's just
sorry.
confusing for
I'm
me, too.
sorry. It really is. I'm sorry.
Towards downtown or away from?
Towards downtown. Sorry.
And where did you go after you walked off the screen here?
I just kept walking until they followed me, and then we made a left. I'm not sure which street it was, but we made a left. We didn't know, yeah. We just made a left turn and went straight towards the women's shelter.
before you turned off of the street you're walking on here, did you have contact with the police officer?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and you spoke briefly with that officer?
Yes.
And then where'd you go after you spoke with that officer?
Then we left. That's when we made the left across the street and went towards the shelter, women's shelter.
At the moment when Mr. Brooks left the little physical scuffle that we saw there and got into the driver's seat, how would you describe his demeanor?
He was angry.
Okay, how do you know that? What was he saying or doing that led you to believe that?
Besides the fact that he was arguing the whole time and he hit me, he was just mad. He just left very angry. He just drove off fast. He was mad they called the cops.
You don't recall any specific things that he said at that point?
No.
Do you recall what kind of shoes he was wearing?
I do not.
Do you remember meeting with detectives after this and saying that he was wearing blue slides?
I don't recall that,
Okay.
but I'm sure I did.
Can we please pull up for the witness only? Exhibit 5.
Objection. Why is that for the witness? Oh, sorry.
You recognize this photograph? Ms.
Yes.
Patterson?
Yes.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump ahead there. I'm assuming that Mr. Brooks withdrew that objection.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was my understanding, and appreciate that. Okay, go ahead.
And I believe actually Exhibit 5 has already been received and published, so I'd ask to do that again, to publish again.
Permission granted.
Object. Wasn't it supposed to be for the witness only?
The exhibit's previously been received, and the state requested permission to publish it once again, and I granted that request.
So when, just so I'm clear, when it's published again, then it's
Correct. When I say permission to publish granted, that means it will be shown to the courtroom and to the jury.
okay. I didn't understand.
That's
that.
okay.
Ms. Patterson, who's that in the picture?
That's me.
And that photograph was taken
The day of the parade.
November 21st,
Yes.
the night.
Yes.
Okay. And what injuries do we see in that video, in that photograph?
That is my left eye that was swollen.
Your left eye would have been the eye closest to the defendant,
Yeah.
based on your description of where you and the defendant were sitting in the vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. And how did you sustain that injury?
From him, Mr. Brooks, when he hit me.
Ms. Patterson, did you consent in any way to being struck in the face?
No.
That's all I have for this witness.
All right, thank you. Mr. Brooks, do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes, I do. First of all, good morning
Good morning.
and happy birthday.
Thank you.
You stated that you were hanging out with your friend Miss Corey on the day of this incident, correct?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say that you were hanging out drinking?
Yes.
Would it also be fair to say that you occasionally drink too much?
Objection,
Sustained.
Would it be fair to say that, well, let me back up. What were you drinking?
A Mike's Hard beverage.
Were you aware that it was said that you were actually drinking vodka?
No.
Hold on. When there's an objection, I need to rule on it first, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Sustained that mischaracterizes the previous testimony.
Find inspiration behind the wheel of a new Kia. From the stylish and fun Soul to the powerful and dependable Forte, comfort and technology go hand in hand in every new Kia. Make one yours today during the season of giving back. Click now to view our inventory.
Make the wait a visual escape with custom deep sea signage. Fast Signs. Make your statement.
Next question.
So it would be fair to say that you were drinking.
Yes,
Would it be fair to say that you were a little intoxicated?
I was not.
How much did you drink that day?
1 of the Mike's Hard Alcohol beverage.
And around what time of the day was that?
I don't remember.
Was it shortly before meeting up with the alleged defendant, or was it sometime before?
It was before.
Did you have anything to drink after?
No, I did not.
You stated that you were engaging in a conversation with the alleged defendant via the telephone. Would that be fair to say?
Yes,
Texts, phone calls?
yes.
Were those texts and phone calls of what nature were they of?
Me and Mr. Brooks were arguing throughout the day.
In the texts and phone calls?
Yes, we were.
If there were, if the conversation was argumentative, why would you agree to meet up with the alleged defendant?
I do not know.
Do you recall how the meetup was supposed to be set up?
I don't recall.
Did you at any time ask the alleged defendant to meet up with you?
Well, I told Mr. Brooks where I was.
Did you at any time ask to meet up with the alleged defendant?
No, I did not.
So it would be fair to say that the alleged defendant just came where you were?
Yes, I told you where we were. And obviously, we were going to hang out. I never told Mr. Brooks to hang out with me. I told him where we were.
So why would, if there was an argumentative conversation prior to you meeting up with the alleged defendant, why would you tell the alleged defendant where you were?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
You just stated that you really don't know the city of Waukesha. Would that be fair to say?
Yes,
So how would you know exactly where you were?
because I was with Corey and she's familiar with this area.
Would it be fair to say that Corey overheard these conversations between you and the alleged defendant?
Yes, she was my roommate. She heard every conversation almost.
When you say every conversation, what would that
When
refer
she,
to?
when she was in the room with me, when I was always talking to her.
So it would be fair to say that you were engaged in conversation with the alleged defendant before you even left the women's shelter?
Yes,
And those argumentative conversations continue into your hanging out?
yes,
Would it be fair to say that that's what led you to drink?
no,
Would it be fair to say you were drinking because that's what you wanted to do?
yes,
Is it true that one of the rules and requirements of being at the women's shelter is no drugs and no alcohol? Would that be fair to say?
yes, but when I was drinking, it was at Frame Park. I was not at the women's shelter.
Would it be fair to say that you knew you had to come back into the women's shelter at some point that day, that they have a curfew?
Yes, and I made it before curfew.
Let me back up a little bit. You did state that part of the rules and requirements for being in the women's shelter is no drugs and no alcohol, correct?
Yes, it was not in the women's shelter.
That's not what I'm asking. It's part of the requirement and rules of the women's shelter, no drugs, no alcohol.
Yes.
Object, asked and answered twice.
Sustained. Next question, Mr. Brooks.
Is there any type of drug and alcohol testing at the women's shelter?
I don't know. No.
No, or you don't know?
I don't know.
Would it be fair to say that if it was found that you were engaging in drugs and alcohol, that you might have lost your place at the women's shelter?
I'll object. I don't see how this is going.
Sustained. Next question.
An unforgettable time awaits at Cache Creek Casino Resort. Now we do.
So around what time were you hanging out with Miss Corey, you said?
I don't remember.
Do you remember where you were at?
Frame Park.
Do you remember where in Frame Park?
No.
And approximately at what time did you meet up with the alleged defendant?
I don't remember.
How long were you with the alleged defendant? Do you remember that?
Approximately 35 minutes.
Do you recall what, well, you said that during this time you were with the alleged defendant that there was a arguing going on. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Do you remember what that argument was about?
He was arguing with me about money because I did not bail him out.
You also said that well, let me back up from that a little bit. If you knew that the conversation was becoming volatile, why did you still meet up with the alleged defendant?
I don't know.
To your knowledge, did the alleged defendant know anything about the city of Waukesha?
Yes.
And what did the alleged defendant know about Waukesha?
He told me, Mr. Brooks told me that his first child's mother lives in Waukesha.
Do you know that to be a fact?
No, that's just what Mr. Brooks told me.
Are you aware that the alleged defendant in fact has no mother of any child that lives in the city of Waukesha?
Objection. If Mr. Brooks wants to testify, he should do so in a different stage of the trial.
Sustained. You don't need to answer that.
Yes, ma'am.
Other than what you can recall about what the alleged defendant told you that they knew about Waukesha, how did the alleged defendant meet up with you in the location that you gave?
Mr. Brooks already knew where Frame Park was. Mr. Brooks previously had been to Waukesha plenty of times before. He's told me that.
And when was that told to you, and what conversation? Was it that day?
Before that. I'm not sure which day it was. I just know he knows about Waukesha.
So, would it be fair to say that when you told the alleged defendant where you were, that the alleged defendant knew exactly where you were?
Yes.
And how would the alleged defendant know that?
Because Mr. Brooks already knew Waukesha. He knew exactly where to go.
Did you at any time give directions where you may have been?
How could I give directions when I barely knew Waukesha myself?
Is that a no?
That's a no, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
So, if you barely knew Waukesha yourself, where did you get the information of where you were from, where you were at the time of the conversation via telephone?
I left the women's shelter with Corey, and she knows that location. She told me what Frame Park was. I didn't know the name.
And would it be fair to say, assuming from what you just said, that you were with the alleged defendant for approximately around 30 minutes or so?
Yes.
And during that time, did you make any disparaging remarks or anything to entice the argument to escalate?
No.
So you didn't say anything at all during your 30 minutes with the alleged defendant?
No, because I was crying the whole time because Mr. Brooks was yelling at me, arguing with me.
So you said absolutely nothing at all?
I was crying the whole time.
Did you say anything?
No.
A few more.
No.
I've done everything I can. This is your fight now.
Thank you guys. Have a great weekend.
Let the journey take you where it wants to. We'll continue to find our way through anything we face. We got what it takes. Here we go. All we need is an open road and a chance to see a never-ending world that's beautiful. Here we go with the sunlight on our skin. It's a brand new day. It's ours to take, and we will let it in. This is where the adventure begins. Here we go. All we need is an open road and a chance to see a never-ending world that's beautiful. Here we go with the sunlight on our skin. It's a brand new day. It's ours to take, and we will let it in. This is where the adventure begins. On our own with our hope in the clouds. Starting to see that we're onto something. Feel it coming now.
few more questions.
Go ahead.
You said that during this, well, once you had got out of the vehicle, as you say, you stated that your friend Miss Corey pulled you away from the vehicle because it swerved.
Yes, it was in the video.
You do know that we just saw the video. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, but there's two angles of the video.
Well, we only saw one, so I'm referring to the
Yes,
video that we saw.
Corey pulled me out the way when Mr. Brooks made a U-turn, and you almost swerved into Miss Patterson, which is me.
Would it be fair to say that the video does not show that?
There's different angles, but the video does not show that, the video we watched.
So the video that we just watched, that the jury just saw, there is no swerving of the vehicle and you being pulled back. Would that be fair to
From
say?
that far angle, you can kind of see it. Yes.
Would that be fair to say? That
You
there's-
answered the question, Mr. Brooks. Next question. Under 906.11, sub 1, sub C, I direct your attention to that next question.
Do you recall what was said during the altercation between is it Miss Corey and the alleged defendant?
No, I don't remember.
Would it be fair to say that you were standing right there?
Yes, I just don't remember what was being said.
Do you recall reporting anything that may have been said during that incident?
No.
Did you give a statement to anything that may have been said during that incident?
No.
Was anything directed towards you verbally in that incident?
Yes. Corey told Mr. Brooks, don't ever hit my effing friend again. I remember that part. That was in the beginning.
Do you remember anything else that may have been said?
No.
Do you recall anything being said by Nick to the alleged defendant?
No.
Do you recall the alleged defendant saying anything to Nick?
No. I don't remember.
You also stated that right after this incident, you talked to law enforcement. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
At any time, did you report any abuse?
Yes.
And what did you report?
That you hit me?
And you gave a statement to that effect?
No, not to that police officer, but the detectives at the women's shelter.
Well, I'm referring to right during, well,
Oh, I don't
directly
remember.
after the incident.
I don't remember what I told that police officer.
Just one quick second, I'm reading from the statement, if I may.
You may.
Do you remember what was said by the alleged defendant when that incident ended?
No, I do not remember.
Do you remember reporting in your statement that the last thing he said to me was F-U-B, erase my number? Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
Would it be fair to say that you reported that this was said?
I don't remember.
Do you remember giving a statement to that effect?
No.
Would it be fair to say that you gave a statement?
No, I don't remember. I gave a statement to the detectives at the Women's Center.
So
That's
would
what
it
I
be
remember.
fair? I'm sorry, I didn't know if
Are you done answering?
Yes.
All right, next question.
would it be fair to say that your memory is kind of cloudy of that day because you were intoxicated?
No.
Are you in California and you're sick and tired of the crime and the high taxes and all the shenanigans coming out of your government?
Freedom? It's under attack.
There's a lot of things in this statement that you don't seem to remember. Is that fair to say?
This,
Sustained. Next question.
Would it be fair to say that you reported 2 different incidents?
yes.
Do you remember the dates of those incidents that you
The
reported?
20th and the 21st.
Would it be fair to say that there was no incident on the 20th?
No.
Would it be fair to say that you were initially not truthful with law enforcement?
No.
Do you recall making a statement to law enforcement on November the 22nd of 2021?
I don't remember. I made this statement on the 21st of the day of the parade when I met the detectives that night.
Do you recall making a second statement the next day? Or the next morning, rather, which would have been the 22nd of November, 2021?
Yes, I did actually. Yes, I did.
Do you recall what you reported that day?
I told them about the 20th when I met with Mr. Brooks, and all we did was argue. And you hit me then too.
So you reported incidents for 2 days in a row.
Yes.
Do you recall at any time telling law enforcement that you were not truthful and wanted to be truthful at that point?
No.
So you never made a statement to your knowledge that you fabricated a reported abuse incident?
No.
One second here, I'm reading from that. To the best of your knowledge, do you remember talking with a detective? I don't want to butcher this name, Your Honor. I don't know how to pronounce it.
You can spell it if that's helpful.
A detective, BEHRENDT.
Detective Barron? Is it a detective or an officer?
It says detective, Your Honor.
Okay, ask your question.
Do you remember speaking with that detective?
Yes.
Do you remember what you reported to that detective?
I don't remember.
I'm reading directly from the statement, Your Honor, if I may.
Ask your question.
Do you remember reporting to that detective saying you were not completely forthright with all of the information that you had given because you were afraid to get other people involved in your drama or your business?
I don't remember that.
And I'll object and move to strike based on the fact that I think I'm safe in saying that that is not from the report which the defendant is referring to.
The objection is sustained. I'll grant the motion to strike by the state of the question and any response that may have been elicited before I address the objection.
Your Honor, quick question on that. I'm reading directly from the report.
Next question, Mr. Brooks.
Just 1 second, Your Honor.
Okay.
I apologize for that, Your Honor. Do you remember at any time speaking with Officer Guth?
Yes.
And do you recall on what date that was?
November 21st.
Do you remember what you reported on November the 21st?
That me and Mr. Brooks, I met with Mr. Brooks at Frame Park. Me and Mr. Brooks got into an altercation. You hit me. I jumped out of your car and I walked and met my friend Corey. You followed me. And then after that, Nick and Miss Corey, they called the police officers. And then you drove off.
Just 1 second, Your Honor. Do you recall reporting to Officer Guth that you were not completely forthright with the information that you reported?
I don't remember. And no, actually, no, I did not say that. I apologize.
So reading from what was reported to Officer Guth states that what I learned from Erica Patterson was that when I spoke to her on the previous evening with Officer Darrell, was that the pronunciation, Your Honor? I'm sorry.
I don't have it in front of me, I'm not sure.
She was not completely forthright with all of the information she had given. Would that be fair to say?
What was your question?
Do you recall in your reporting to Officer Guth that you were not forthright with the information that you gave?
No, I don't recall that.
So to the best of your recollection, at any time that you reported incidents to any law enforcement, at any time do you recall being untruthful?
No.
So do you remember the date and time of the first incident that you allege?
I don't remember the time, but it was November 20th.
Do you remember what time of day that may have been?
I just said I don't remember.
Do you remember where you were at?
Frame Park.
So would it be fair to say that both alleged incidents that you are alleging happened at Frame Park?
The second incident on November 21st did not happen on Frame Park. We were driving around and he hit me.
What
The
I'm
first
asking
incident.
is where you were at when you met up.
Frame Park, yes.
On
That's
both-
not what you
on both
just said.
alleged occasions?
Yes. That's how Mr. Brooks knew where Frame Park is. He already knew Waukesha area in the first place.
Same park.
Yes.
Do you remember where you were at in Frank Park?
No, it was in the parking lot. The first side of the parking lot. Kind of by the baseball field, I think that is. If that is the baseball field.
Do you recall who you were with?
Nobody. I was with Corey on November 21st, and the first day on November 20th, I was by myself.
So it would be fair to say that you went to the park alone.
Yes, I met up with Mr. Brooks intentionally on the 20th, yes.
Were you drinking that day?
No.
And how did you know how to get to Frank Park, as you call it?
I knew how to get to Frame Park 'cause I'd been there previous times before that with Miss Corey. Walking past it, I knew how to get there because Corey walked with me that day too. I just was not with her. She walked towards there with me.
And so then you separated?
Yes.
Did you separate from Miss Corey at any time during the 21st?
Yes, I did. She left with Nick and I was with Mr. Darrell Brooks.
Do you recall to the best of your knowledge that it may have been someone else that she was with, that was with you that day?
She was by her. Which day? Are you clarifying? Which day?
November the 21st of 2021.
She was with Nick that day.
The entire day?
Yes.
And you guys separated from that point?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say you guys separated after hanging out and drinking?
Mr. Brooks, under 906.11, sub 1, sub C, you need to move on to a new topic. You've been over this multiple times. It's been asked, it's been answered, and now it's under my authority under 906.11, sub 1, sub C, you need to move on.
Electrified. Hanguk Tire.
So to the best of your knowledge, well, let me back up. How did you communicate with the alleged defendant on November 20th of 2021?
Phone calls.
Strictly phone calls, texts?
Both. Mostly phone calls.
Do you remember what was said in those texts and phone calls?
Same conversation we had on the 21st. He was mad because I wasn't giving him money from not bailing him out.
So why would you meet up with the alleged defendant that day?
Because I just wanted to. We have a 15-year-old together. I mean, I was always going to talk to you then.
Do you remember if there was any agreed upon meeting up that day?
Yes,
By you, by the alleged defendant?
both.
Do you remember the reason why you were meeting up?
I just said why.
So it would have been just to conversate,
Just to conversate.
would it be fair to say that you could have communicated strictly by the phone?
Yes.
Under 906, 11 sub 1 sub C, the objection is sustained. Next topic, if you have one, Mr. Brooks.
You said that you came to Wisconsin from another state. Would that be fair to say?
Atlanta, Georgia, yes. June 13th, 2021.
And why did you leave Georgia?
We were coming out here for 2 weeks, and I never went back.
Can you state why you never went back?
Number one, I came out here, I didn't have money. Number two, I had no way to get back. And you were always, Mr. Brooks was always physical.
So at any time were you ever offered money to go back to Georgia, or did anybody at any time ever?
No.
Did anybody at any time ever lend any help to help you go back to Georgia?
No.
Did you, to the best of your recollection, did you want to go back to Georgia?
Objection.
Sustained. Next question, please.
So why didn't you file a report with law enforcement on November the 20th after you alleged that you were abused?
Because I've been dealing with it for so many years, I just didn't do it. I don't see what this has anything to do with this case.
How long have you known the alleged defendant again?
Since I was 15. I'm 32 now.
Would it be fair to say that you lived in different states from the alleged defendant?
Yes, but
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought there was.
I was going to object and ask for clarification on the timeline there.
I'll sustain the objection, rephrase the question.
I was going to get to that, Your Honor. Would it be fair to say that during the duration of the time knowing the alleged defendant that the majority of that time you did not live in the same area or state?
yeah, off and on. I met Mr. Brooks in Reno, Nevada. I moved out of Reno, Nevada in 2017 to Atlanta, Georgia. I moved Mr. Brooks throughout. I've known him throughout, with back and forth, off and on. The whole 16 years, me and Mr. Brooks were not together, but it was off and on.
Did you guys live in the same area off and on during that time?
Objection. Has to answer.
Sustained.
Out of the 16 years you said it was, correct?
Yes, off and on, Mr. Brooks.
How much of that time did you actually spend with the alleged defendant?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. Also under 906, 11 sub 1 sub C. Move on.
At the time of this alleged incident, were you and the alleged defendant in any kind of relationship?
Yes.
And were you a couple? Were you just co-parenting? Or what was the nature of the relationship is basically?
We were together. I wouldn't have came to Milwaukee, Wisconsin if I was not with him.
So it'd be fair to say that you were in a committed relationship?
Yes.
1 second, Your Honor. I'm just going over something. Would it be fair to say, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Go ahead. No, there was a water bottle being provided.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. How did, before you came back into contact with the alleged defendant, how long had it been since you had seen the alleged defendant?
I don't know, but it's years, a couple years.
So it would be fair to say that there was a significant gap in between interactions with the alleged defendant?
Yes.
Sustained, however, she provided the answer. It may stand. Next question.
So during your time, approximately how long were you staying around the alleged defendant before this incident on November 21st took place?
I don't know the exact time. I just answered your question. I don't know the exact time.
Were there any separations or gaps during that time?
Objection,
Sustained.
At any time during these alleged incidents, were you with someone other than Miss Corey?
Corey and Nick the day of the 21st, and then we separated and I met back up with them.
Any time during that day were you with anyone else besides those two that you just named?
Mr. Brooks, you.
What about the alleged incident on the 20th?
I left with Miss Corey, and then she went a whole different direction, and I went to Frame Park and met up with Mr. Brooks.
Just one second, Your Honor. Recollection, you were not drinking on both of those days that you cite, the 20th or the 21st?
The 20th.
Hold on. Mr. Brooks, under 90611, I'm stopping this cross-examination. You've asked the same question, multiple questions, multiple times, and at this point, I'm going to declare that the opportunity to cross is now concluded.
I didn't know that was the same question, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks, it's been asked and answered multiple times. So with that, I'm going to turn to the state to see if they have any redirect.
Just some brief clarification.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Ms. Patterson, after the parade incident, which took place after the video we saw, right?
Yes.
Okay. You remember meeting with Detectives Jessica Barrett and Steve Guth that night?
Yes.
Okay. And you gave a statement to them that night, correct?
Yes.
You gave a second statement to Detective Guth the next day, is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk very briefly about that first statement, the night of the 21st, the night of the parade incident.
Yes.
You told them about an incident that had happened between you and the defendant on November 20th, is that right?
Yes.
And you also told them about an argument that you had with the defendant on the 21st, is that right?
Yes.
But you left out the part about any physical violence on the 21st, is that accurate?
Yes.
And then when you met with Detective Guth for your second statement,
yes.
on the 22nd, that's when you confirmed that there had been violence with Mr. Brooks on the 21st, is that right?
Yeah, yes. Well, they seen my eye on the 21st when they came, so I did let them know about the incident on the 21st. I did. The next day, I let him know about the incident on the 20th, is what happened.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
To make it better. Sorry.
Good. That's all I have, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. You may step
Thank
down.
you, Your Honor.
All right, and any reason to keep her under subpoena from the state?
No.
From the defense?
Yes.
Did you have a subpoena for her?
To my understanding, I was supposed to.
All right, I'll take that up in a little bit. For now, I'd ask that she be maintained under the state subpoena until I can clarify that issue. All right, state have the next witness available.
Yes, we do.
Mr. Brooks, please. Before the next witness comes in, if my ladies and gentlemen of the jury want to take a quick moment to stand. Yep. All right, thank you, everyone. Please be seated. All right, the state may call its next witness.
The state calls Detective David Guth.
All right, Detective, please make your way to the witness stand. When you get there, please remain standing. Raise your right hand, and my clerk, Teresa, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please be seated. When you are seated, if you would please state your first and last names for the record and spell both.
Detective Stephen Guth, Steven Guth.
Thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. Detective, what do you do for a living?
I'm a detective for the City of Waukesha Police Department.
How long have you worked for the police department?
20 years.
How long as a detective?
7 years.
Okay. Were you working as a detective on November 22nd of 2021?
Yes, I was.
On that date, did you meet with a person by the name of Erica Patterson?
Yes, I did.
What was the purpose of meeting with Miss Patterson?
I wanted to clarify her statement to me regarding a domestic-related incident that had occurred.
And as part of that clarification, did you get into a squad car with Miss Patterson?
I did.
And what was the point of doing that?
I wanted to ride in the car with her since she was unfamiliar with the geography of the city, and so that she could point out to me specific directions on where she went with Mr. Brooks.
Could we have Exhibit 1 up on the screen for the jury, please, and for the witness?
Permission to publish Exhibit 1. Granted. I'll go over here for a moment.
This is your time to cash in at Cache Creek Casino Resort. To rock and to roll. Over the hills and bluffs. Go all out or go all in. With 4 stars and rising stars. Now we do more than ever, so you can do as much or as little as you want. It's your time to cash in at Cache Creek Casino Resort.
It's the rear flap top, right?
Yep.
And you said publish, right?
Yes, please.
All right. Just confirm that that's what you want?
It is.
All right, then permission to publish is granted.
Can we zoom in on the top right corner of this exhibit? Okay, where did you first, or where did this journey with Miss Phillips, or Patterson, excuse me, Miss Patterson begin?
Once I picked her up, we moved to Frame Park, and we parked in the area that's close to where that star is, where it says Frame Park.
In the top right corner?
Correct.
Okay, and where did you go from there?
From there, we traveled on Baxter. So the way that the frame park is here, can I touch the screen?
Do we have the ability to let the witness touch and
Yes.
mark?
Just let us know at what points we'll capture it, and then we can also print it at another location and if need be.
So we met generally in that area that's highlighted now in yellow. And we traveled in this direction on Baxter.
Okay, and then what?
As we continued down Baxter, we got to this street called Buckley. And then from Buckley, we made a right turn and ended up on Carina.
Let's go back up.
Yeah, don't
And
move the
let's-
screen until we can capture it.
Let's capture there. And we probably need to,
Second, if you saw the little number counting the percentage, that means it's done capturing it, once it stops.
okay. Can we clear that now?
Yes.
And let's zoom out.
We'll get that printed and we'll have that marked as 1A.
Now, from where you left off there, after you made that right turn onto Buckley, can you draw on the screen where you went next?
Yeah, so again on Buckley, we did travel down Buckley to Carina. And then on Carina, we made a left turn, traveling along the river till we reached Barstow. And then from Barstow, we made a right turn, traveling up northwest Barstow, all the way to the Barstow Hill, where it's highlighted in green there, up the Barstow Hill, and it's going to come off the map, but all the way up to Bidwell.
Okay. And did she indicate at what point you should turn around?
At Bidwell and northwest Barstow.
Did she indicate where she went with Mr. Brooks after that?
Well, she jumped out of the car at Bidwell and northwest Barstow.
And what happened, according to Ms. Patterson, at that point?
At that point, she started making her way back the same path, back to Frame Park. Again, because she was unfamiliar with the geography, she just used the same route that she just went.
Okay. Did she at any point mention a gas station on that route?
Yes, she did.
Do you see that gas station depicted on Exhibit 1?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell us where it is?
Yes, it's the mobile gas station highlighted with a star, and I'll circle it in that area.
Do we have a screen capture here?
Yes. The screen capture has been done. When we get that color print brought to the courtroom, that will be
area.
Do we have a screen capture here?
Yes. The screen capture has been done. When we get that color print brought to the courtroom, that will be 1B.
Okay. And this map is you're familiar with Waukesha, right?
Yes.
This is an accurate map of Waukesha?
Yes, it is.
And the markings that you've put on the screen here, that's an accurate representation of the route you took with Ms. Patterson on November 22nd?
Yes, it is.
Remove exhibits 1A and 1B into evidence.
Any objection?
Yes.
The objection noted, it's overruled. Exhibits 1A and 1B are received by the court.
That's all I have for this witness.
Mr. Brooks, do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
Officer Guth or detective?
Detective.
Sorry about that.
Good morning, Detective Guth.
Good morning.
You've been in law enforcement for over 20 years. Would that be fair to say?
Correct.
any time during your over 20 years of service, have you ever had any interaction with the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection.
Sustained.
Can you state for the record if the plaintiff is in court today?
Objection.
Sustained.
Have you ever seen the plaintiff?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you even know of the plaintiff?
Objection.
Sustained.
Ever spoken to the plaintiff?
Objection.
On what grounds?
Sustained.
On what grounds?
It's sustained. Next question.
May I ask what grounds, Your Honor?
Mr. Brooks, do you have another question?
I do. I was just trying to follow the rules that you said by saying that an objection has to have a basis. So
Unless it's self-evident to the court. It's sustained. Next question.
On what grounds, Your Honor?
Do you have another question? Otherwise, under 906.11, I will give the state an opportunity to ask any redirect.
Yes, I do have more questions.
Go ahead.
At any time did Erica Patterson report any domestic incident to you?
Yes.
Do you remember the dates that she reported, or date?
Yes.
At any time during that report, did you find her to be untruthful?
No.
Just 1 second. I'm reading from the narrative of your report, and specifically the part where it says, what I learned from Erica Patterson was that when I spoke to her on the previous evening with Detective Barrett, she was not completely forthright with all of the information she had given. Would that be fair to say?
Correct.
So would it also be fair to say that from the report that you wrote, that you're acknowledging that there was some untruth in the report reported to you?
No, that's incorrect.
When I spoke to her on the previous evening with Detective Barrett, she was not completely forthright. You said what you learned was that she was not completely forthright. So is it fair to say that there was some untruth to the report?
More than ever, your law firm's website and online presence matter.
No.
So why would that be in the report?
For various reasons. The most common reason is that when domestic victims report crimes that happen to them, a lot of times they're very afraid of their abuser, and so they don't always give all details, because if they do give all details about what happened to them, they feel like they might have something happen to them in a future date from that same abuser.
So would it be fair to say that you could have just stated what you just said in your report?
I did state that.
Not in the report. Is it fair to say that obviously you've been in law enforcement for a very long time?
Is that a question?
Would it be fair to say that it could have been reported in the way that you just stated, instead of stating in your report that there was untruthfulness?
I didn't state untruthfulness in my report. If you further read into the report, I state what I just stated.
So would it be fair to say, though, that the information wasn't completely forthright?
Yes.
To the best of your knowledge, would it be fair to say that there was in fact only one incident?
No.
And would you be basing that, to the best of your knowledge, would you be basing that answer, the last answer, on hearsay?
No.
So you would be basing your answer on eyewitness account?
I'll check that. Relevance.
Grounds.
I'm going to sustain the objection. Next question, or you can rephrase it.
Would it be fair I don't know how I can rephrase that without asking it the same way, Your Honor. Just give me a second, if I may. At any time during your report or time spent with Ms. Patterson, did she state where she may have been on November 20th of 2021?
Yes.
Do you recall what that was? What she said?
I recall what she said, yes.
To the best of your knowledge, do you believe that she was being truthful?
Yes.
I'm just going to advise the jury that ultimately it's the jury's determination of credibility that matters. And you heard me read an instruction yesterday. That's obviously the instruction you'll follow ultimately in the jury room.
To the best of your knowledge, do you recall any injuries on the first reported incident?
Yes.
Do you recall what they were?
Yes.
And do you recall any injury on the reported incident from the day of the parade?
Yes.
Do you remember what they were?
Yes.
Can you state on the record what they were?
On which day?
The 20th.
Her mouth was injured due to being slapped in the mouth.
Do you can you recall for any reason why that would not be in the report?
It is.
To the best of your knowledge, Can you say where in the report that would be? Because I don't see it in the report that I have here before me.
Are you asking me which report states that she was injured in the mouth? Are you asking if it was reported to me that she was injured in the mouth?
No, I'm not. I'm asking you, why is there no injuries reported for that incident, alleged incident?
It was reported to me that she was injured in the mouth by being slapped on the 20th.
Are you aware that that was not testified to?
No.
Hold on.
Hearsay.
What grounds would that be hearsay?
Mr. Brooks, it's up for the jury to determine the truthfulness of anything that's said or testified to in court.
Okay.
He was not present for any other testimony, so it would not be proper for him to comment on that. Next question.
Would it be fair to say that the reported alleged incident Would it be fair to say that the reported alleged incident from the 20th is very, very, very vague in your report? Would that be fair to say? And by vague, I mean there's literally 3 sentences.
I don't have the report in front of me. If you're
I have it in
referring
front
to
of me.
vagueness, that's why I went back on the 22nd to interview her again to clarify information.
So, on the 22nd, and this is your report I'm reading from, it says, due to the influx of information, we were unable to make sense of all the information. Would that be fair to say?
Correct.
So it would be also fair to say that that would basically state that there were some things you weren't sure about.
Yes.
You also say in your report that you had learned that there were 2 other individuals that may have been involved in the incident. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Do you remember the names of the 2 individuals?
Yes.
Would you state on the record what the names of the other 2 individuals were?
Corey Runkle, and the other individual's first name is Nick. I don't remember his last name.
Did Corey Runkle in any way report anything about the incident to you?
Not,
Which incident, hold on, which incident are we talking about?
From November the 21st of 2021.
Thank you. With that clarification, are you able to answer?
not to me directly.
Do you recall if you had learned of any information about what Corey Runkle might have said to any other law enforcement?
Yes.
Do you recall what that was?
Yes.
Would you like to state on the record what that was that you may have learned?
I learned that she was with Erica Patterson on the 21st, on November 21st, 2021, when Erica Patterson was involved with a domestic incident. She responded to help her friend.
Do you recall of learning if Corey Runkle was with Erica Patterson on November 20th of 2021?
I don't think Corey Runkle was with Erica Patterson on the 20th.
You stated in the report that you were with Erica Patterson to kind of basically you took her on a drive to pretty much retrace her steps. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
At any time, did any incident about November the 20th of 2021 come into your conversations with Erica Patterson?
You talking about during the drive?
During the drive. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
No, I just want to make sure that the question's clear. Go ahead.
I believe we did talk about it, both incidents from the 20th and the 21st.
Do you recall what was said?
Yes.
Do you recall putting that into your report?
I recorded our conversation. I don't know if I put every detail of our whole recording in the report. In fact, I know I didn't. So not every detail from our recorded conversation is in that report. The report is a summary.
For any reason, to your knowledge, why would details of an incident not be reported accurately?
Objection, that this characterizes the evidence.
It's also vague. Sustained.
To the best of your knowledge, why is that conversation that was supposedly had not in your report at all?
Objection, this states the evidence.
Sustained.
Just 1 second. Sorry, Your Honor, I got tons of paperwork. Just 1 second, Your Honor. 1 second. And you stated that you interviewed Ms. Patterson on multiple days. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
And on both of those times that you interviewed Ms. Patterson, did the reporting ever deviate?
Mr. Brooks, under 906.11. You need to clarify your question. It's ambiguous. It's confusing.
What I'm getting at by that question is, did what Ms. Patterson said change from interview to interview?
No.
So at any time during your interview, did you learn less or learn more?
I learned more in my second interview.
So it would be fair to say that the information you learned changed. Would that be fair to say?
Objection, argumentative.
Overruled. He may answer.
It did not change. I just learned more information.
More information about what alleged incident? The 20th, the 21st?
Both, honestly.
I'm sorry.
Both, honestly.
So, would it be fair to say was it 2 interviews that you did or 3?
2.
So with both interviews, you continued to learn things that you didn't know from the previous interview.
Objection, asked and answered.
Sustained.
Would it be fair to say that just 1 second, Your Honor. Detective Guth's report, if I may. To the best of your knowledge, did Erica Patterson give any report to any other law enforcement that you were aware of?
No.
So to the best of your knowledge, you were the only detective that interviewed Ms. Patterson?
Objection. Asked and answered.
Sustained.
To the best of your knowledge, were you the only one that interviewed Ms. Patterson?
Same objection.
Sustained.
At any time, did you learn anything about the alleged incidents that Ms. Patterson claimed from any other law enforcement?
Objection. Same reason.
Sustained.
At any time were you, or at any time did you view the video footage from White Rock School?
Yes.
Do you remember what you saw in those videos?
Yes.
You stayed on the record what you saw?
Under 906.11, I'm going to advise the witness not to answer. That video is in evidence. It will speak for itself. And his understanding of what's in there, at least at this point, is not relevant.
Can you say what was the date of the video that you saw?
November 21st, 2021.
Did you see any video from the other alleged incident from November 20th?
I'll object. I don't see the relevance to anything that happened on the 20th.
Sustained.
Do you know if there might have been any video from the alleged incident on November 20th?
Same objection.
Sustained.
Grounds.
It's not relevant.
May I ask how is it not
Next
relevant?
question. There's not a charge related to the 20th, sir. It's not relevant. I've given you leeway to ask questions. At this point, under 906.11, move on.
Just so I'm clear, you have never had NT interaction with the plaintiff.
Objection.
Sustained.
You've never seen the plaintiff.
Objection.
Sustained.
Never spoken to the plaintiff.
Objection.
Sustained. Move on.
Just so I'm clear, you have never had NT interaction with the plaintiff.
Objection.
Sustained.
You've never seen the plaintiff.
Objection.
Sustained.
Never spoken to the plaintiff.
Objection.
Sustained.
Never seen, do you see the plaintiff in court today?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you know if there is a plaintiff in this matter?
Objection.
Sustained.
Have you had any prior knowledge of the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection.
Sustained.
Would it be fair to say that you do not know of any plaintiff in this matter?
Objection.
Sustained.
On grounds? What grounds?
Under 906.11, I'm declaring the cross-examination now closed. Do you have any redirect for this witness?
Briefly, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Detective, when you reported that Erica Patterson had been less than completely forthright with you, what did she leave out the first time you spoke with her?
She left out the incident that happened to her on November 21st, 2021.
The incident where she accused Mr. Brooks of punching her?
Correct.
Okay. You testified on cross-examination that in your general experience, victims of domestic violence do not report 100% of the details all the time.
Objection. Hearsay.
Overruled.
Grounds.
He hasn't asked a question yet.
Grounds for the.
He can ask this question. This witness testified about his experience based on a question you asked, so the redirect is appropriate.
May I just say that every situation is different, Your Honor? Which
You're
we do know
attempting to
that.
testify, so no, you may not say that. The jury will strike that comment made by Mr. Brooks. You'll have an opportunity, if you so choose, to testify at a later point in time in this trial. The state may ask its question.
Thank you. Did Erica Patterson provide to you a specific reason for her situation, why she was not 100% forthright with you?
Yes.
What was that reason?
She was extremely afraid of Mr. Brooks.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
All right, thank you. Detective, you may step down. Any reason to keep this witness under subpoena from the state?
Not from the state.
Anything from Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
All right, I'll take that up later and reserve that until I can review that with the parties. All right, this would be an excellent opportunity to take a mid-morning break. It's 10:49, about 15 minutes. All rise for the jury.